Aboriginal life is a dichotomy of new versus old, city versus rural. Author Joseph Boyden seeks to tell this story from a modern perspective. Hi, I'm Rebecca Brayton and welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're speaking with Boyden about his second novel, Through Black Spruce. So first, tell us about your background and how that has kind of affected and infiltrated your writing.
I have 7 older sisters, so I often write from the female voice, and people often ask, where does the female voice come? I've been surrounded by women all my life, strong women, so I think that's a big part of it. I'm a mixed blood background of Irish, Scottish, and Ojibwe ancestry, and that also plays a big role in what I write and who I am. Even though my native blood is just a small part of me, it's a really important part that really is my passion behind my writing. Now
tell us about Through Black Spruce.
Through Black Spruce is the second book in a trilogy. It completely stands alone on its own, was my intent and hope, and I think it does. It is the tale of the Bird clan in contemporary northern Ontario. The Birds are living in Moosonee, which is on the James Bay coast. And the youngest sister, Suzanne, decides to leave the north for the first time with her boyfriend Gus, and while in Toronto she's discovered as a fashion model and has this very kind of meteoric rise to fame. And then she and Gus just suddenly disappear, which sends her older sister Annie, who's never left the area before. She's a real bushwoman who's a hunter and a trapper, to go search for her sister in the big cities. So it ends up in Toronto and Montreal and New York City eventually.
When you began writing 3 Day Road, did you foresee it to be a trilogy?
One of my favorite authors as a young man was Robertson Davies, and he wrote the Deptford trilogy, which I was just really enthralled by, and that never left me. I don't purposely go out to try to mimic Robertson Davies. I don't think anyone could, and I think they'd be foolish to do so, but the idea of a trilogy and really kind of creating a world through a number of books has always fascinated me.
Now, you currently live in Louisiana, which is full of culture. Can you compare the culture of Louisiana to First Nations?
I have tried to make that comparison before, especially New Orleans, and the more poverty-stricken side of New Orleans is not all that different than a lot of the reserves I've seen. And unfortunately, when you have poverty, you've got addiction and abuse come in. And so those two things are very similar in New Orleans and some reserves. I'm not saying every reserve in Canada is but a lot of the distant, remote reserves in Northern Ontario that I've been to and lived on, they're kind of hard scrabble places. But the people, the beauty is that the people that I always meet just love to laugh and love to have a good time, and have always kind of taken me in and accepted me. And so that's kind of what I was trying to attempt to with Through Black Spruce is, we hear about the addiction, we hear about the violence, we hear about the diabetes, the residential schools, but rarely do we get to hear about the beauty of Native life and the physical and the emotional and the spiritual beauty, and so I tried to explore that in this novel as well.